This week's raid on a prison by jihadists in the north of Syria, a reminder that ISIS hasn't gone away. U.S.-backed Kurdish-led forces eventually repelling the assault on the Hasaki penitentiary. Now, though, come new revelations about a situation that had perhaps fallen under the world's radar. For more, we turn to France 24's Wassim Nasr. You have the exclusive testimony of an inmate who's underage and who is an Australian national.
Yes, exactly. We got many audio recordings from Human Rights Watch, and we're going to listen to a bit of it. We're going to listen to him speaking on the first hours of combat in Hasaki.
My name is I'm 2003, I'm 17 years old. I need help. We're getting hit from every side from the Kurds. We're getting hit by planes. It's very hard here. I'm very scared. We just are seeing a lot of bodies of kids. My friends got killed here. I'm very scared. I'm by myself. There's a lot of people dead, a lot of people injured. People are screaming next to me. People are scared. I kept running and then Apache on top of me, a building on top of me, and then I just got injured in my head and my hand. I lost a lot of blood. I don't know what to do. There's no doctors here, and there's no one that can help me out.
All right. So when was that interview recorded?
That was recorded in the first hours of combat, probably on Friday. I got those recordings from Human Rights Watch, many recordings, and they confirmed his nationality. The person I was in contact with the Human Rights Watch even contacted someone who was next to him. He was contacted 2 times by Human Rights Watch. But the thing is that today,
you mean a family member or
I didn't get to know. They didn't want to disclose the identity of the first person who got in touch with him.
But somebody who knew him well.
Yes, somebody they knew well, and they got in touch with him then a few hours later. The thing is that now we don't know what happened to him. If he died of his wounds, if he was exfiltrated to somewhere else, and we know that he wasn't the only foreigner in this prison, and not the only foreigner underage in this.
So there,
prison.
Just to be clear here, there have been underage combatants, cases of people leaving Europe to go fight in Syria and Iraq when they were 15, 16, 17 years old.
Indeed, but here we are not talking about this case. Now he is 17, and he got caught on the last stand of the Islamic State back in 2019, so he was most probably brought there with his family when he was very, very young. And it is the case of many boys now there that grew up since the end of the Caliphate in 2019, and they were very young, but not young enough to be with their mothers, for example, in camps and refugee camps, as we see in northern Syria and other parts of northern Syria, also held by the Kurdish forces. And if we follow his testimony, what he says that many youngsters fell around him or died around him. And I knew also that Human Rights Watch was able to talk to a citizen, a British citizen, 18 years old, and an American dual citizen who was also 18 years old, but held since many years, since he was still
because this is a men's penitentiary.
This is a men's penitentiary. We know that in this penitentiary that were up to 3,500 or 4,000 men were held. Among them, 700 men underage, as young as 11 and 12 years old, which were in the midst of this combat situation. The detention facility is very harsh, a very rude situation. And you know, there were many Syrian and Iraqis among them, but also, as I told you, some Westerners, some foreigners, up to 150 non-Arab citizens left in those camps.
What else did Human Rights Watch tell you?
Well, we can listen to Mrs. Taylor, and she had enough to say.
Anyone under age 18 who was part of an armed group or linked in any way, such as through family ties to an armed group, should be considered a victim. Instead, all of these children are being considered criminals, regardless of whether they chose to live under ISIS, regardless of whether they committed any crime, regardless of whether they were forced to join the so-called cubs of the Caliphate. And this is unconscionable. And home countries really need to take action now. They should have taken action long ago to help heal these boys, to help them start to lead normal lives, rather than to allow them to be left inside a prison and simply look the other way as years go by, as they lose their lives.
All right, so strong accusation that states like Australia, like here in Europe, are basically abandoning their own citizens there?
Well, those are not accusations, those are facts. We know today for fact that few countries are taking back their citizens. Americans do, Russians do, Central Asian republics did, but European countries, Canada, Australia, didn't, and they only do on the case-to-case basis, and usually it's for very, very young children without their mothers. Just for France, to speak about France, we have between 220 and 230 French underage youngsters, and 70%, 75% of them are under 6 years old.
Wow.
Not in this facility, but kept in many facilities in Syria. So it's a very concerning situation, knowing that prison breaks can happen, knowing that it's a humanitarian disaster, and knowing that they can die of illness too, because they are not taken care of.
All right. Wassim Nasr, many thanks for that update.